Hello, everyone. I'm Bonnie Low-Kramen. I am your host of Heads Together, and I welcome you today. It's Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, and I'm here with my trusty assistant of 8 years. Hello, Jennifer Wilner.
Hi, Bonnie. So nice to see you today. Hi, everybody.
So I'm back in Florida and happy to be back after a month away visiting family up in New Jersey. And Jen, you are still at home.
I am still at home. Yep. It feels like Florida here, though, today.
Yeah. And boy, the journey back, in a million years, I never thought that the hacking of the oil pipeline would impact Bonnie Low-Kramen, but it did, because of course we were going straight through New Jersey to Florida. If you know your geography, straight through the epicenter of that problem. And I found myself thinking, what if executives, assistants and their executives, that were their executive driving through?
Yeah.
So today is an important day. I want to welcome everyone to the show who's viewing this live and viewing this after the fact. Our community has lost a leader today, someone who has really been a guiding light for the Black community, especially. Nadine King passed away today. And I received the news that it is public from her community at Spelman College, revealed the news today. And I don't know any details other than it was an illness of some kind. So the community has lost Nadine King today, the founder of Black Admin Magic. And I know that the community is heartbroken. So shocking, right, Jen?
Very shocking.
It's such a surprise. I spoke with a member of our community, Mary Alanies, today, and Nadine was scheduled to speak at her conference on June 19th, and everybody was so excited about, the issues of diversity and inclusion and equity coming to the forefront. And to that end, Nadine, I'm so grateful that Nadine was a guest on this show on Wednesday, March 10th for Women's History Month. So Jen, if you can put that link in the chat so people can take a look at that. It was a really great episode. I admit that Nadine was pretty new to me. I hadn't really known about Nadine. And then, with Black History Month and everything, people were saying you must connect with her, which I took very seriously, and we did, and had a great conversation. And Nadine was our guest. Welcome, Jana from Colorado. We're happy you're here. Today we're talking about a variety of subjects. The intent for today was to talk about working from home and the new decisions that are being made about, are you in there hybrid? Are you there full time? Welcome, Sandy and Jackie. Really great to see you here. It seems like you have heard the news. It is public knowledge through Spelman College that we have lost a leader of our community today, Nadine King. Jen and I are dedicating today's show to Nadine, and welcome any of your memories, any comments on this. It is such a shock. The news hit just a few hours ago. So my understanding is it was an illness of some kind. And hello, Taryn. Yeah, you're saying she was amazing. Nadine was amazing.
Amazing.
So passionate, so articulate. and so dedicated.
So much energy.
The Black Admin Magic, group was just gaining momentum, and I'm sure all of us, want to support them to keep going, and to, Nadine would want them to. I'm absolutely certain of that. So welcome, Marion, and everyone who's coming into the show today. We are dedicating this show today to Nadine King. I have to say that when something like this happens, that's so sudden and so shocking, I think that we all have to be reminded to make the most of every single day, and not to take this for granted, because life can change in a heartbeat, literally. And I'm sitting here in shock over what happened. We welcome all of our listeners and viewers from around the world. We are remembering Nadine King today. We lost her today. She passed away this afternoon, and she was based in Atlanta. She was the founder of Black Admin Magic, and she was our guest here on Heads Together on March 10th for Women's History Month. Jen is putting it in the chat. I think it was one of our better episodes.
Agree.
Nadine was so passionate about supporting the Black community, the EA community, to, clear the obstacles of racism and discrimination. And she did not suffer fools easily. And she spoke with great passion and strength about these issues. So welcome to everyone here. I would like to, certainly, Jen, you're going to moderate the chat. Today's subject was intended to be about the whole working from home and the decisions that are being made right now for the workplace moving forward. I would like to dedicate this to Nadine in this conversation. And Jen, if you could moderate the chat.
Of course.
And welcome Mary to the show. Mary, yeah. I know, Mary, you are as passionate and articulate about the Latina and Latino communities as I know. You had a kindred spirit with Nadine, and that we've talked about this, that we need to be very mindful about all of our communities, the wonderful stew of diversity that our community represents, without doubt. So I have heard some things in the last couple of weeks that I want to share with this community. As you know, on this show, I get to share with you, some up to the minute info. Heard a really interesting quote from Jamie Dimon yesterday, who runs Morgan Stanley Chase. Jamie Dimon was talking about the staff. He's wanting the staff to come back 5 days a week. He's wanting staff in the office. And he said that he believes the staff who come into the office are more inclined to hustle. That was his. I wonder what you think of that. I wonder if you agree with Jamie Dimon. I've also heard other leaders talk about that the concern is, as we go forward in hybrid, not hybrid, the people who are working in the office 5 days a week versus 2 or 3 days a week, that there may be a conflict that is created between the people who are working at home versus the people who are going in. I'm wondering, for the folks on this call, are you experiencing any of this so far? And, are you being surprised by what the decision making that's going on? Super curious, because there's just all kinds of bubbles of information going on about this. Another really interesting, Lynn, I've always hustled and still do anywhere. I think that's true for assistants, but we need to let them know. We need to let our leaders know that the hustle is happening. So we need to put words behind that and actions. Another interesting statistic, and I sent Jen the article. Jen, were you able to find the link for the article?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Jen, read that headline.
Nearly, okay, so their headline, nearly 30% of working professionals would quit if they had to return to office after pandemic.
So
30%.
30%. And I heard yesterday, a more recent survey, 35% of staff, and not just executive assistants, but staff who were surveyed, say that their preference would be to work at home 100%, permanently 100%. And I wonder what all of you think of that. So you can see by these different pieces of data that there's a big conversation going on right now. And what I'm also hearing among leaders is that they're pretty nervous about having assistants work at home 5 days a week, that they will be much more comfortable with the hybrid 2, 3, some combination, that leaders are wanting their executive assistants in person at least some of the time. Jen, I'm wondering, what are we?
Yeah. Wow. The comments are like flying.
Okay.
Flying in. So Jackie, I can't wait to get back to the office. Not surprised by large financial corporations wanting to get back to old ways. Antiquated thinking will lead to large losses of talent.
Yes. You know what they're saying? That there's going to be a resignation rush, that there's going to be they're calling it mass resignations, because this is going to be a deal breaker issue. So to everyone, I think we have to, let's see what Rosemary has to say. Too much drama and disruptions. We can produce other than making, I don't need, okay. So then we need to make the case with our leaders and with HR why it makes sense. What's in it for them if they do what you're saying? You may be 100% right, but if they don't know it and they don't believe it, then we're, not serving the purpose. What else do we have, Jen?
Right. Yeah. Edwina says, I think the hybrid would work neat for EAs.
Yeah. What's interesting is that assistants knew that pre-pandemic. Work from home improves work-life balance for me, but that may not work for everybody. Lynn, that's interesting. Some assistants report that it's hard for them to create boundaries at home because there is no commute. And so it is requiring an intentionality, a real focus on how do you find that balance? It's, we're more than a year into it, but old habits die hard. And people say WFH, work from home, and what we say is sleeping at work, essentially. And SAW, SAW.
And there's a couch in your office, Bonnie.
There is, right behind me, which
I've never seen you sit on.
Somebody's saying leaders want servants. Well, we've heard of servant leadership. Well, if we want to change that mindset, I would agree that some leaders absolutely do want servants in the old way of defining that. And that's not going to work anymore, because you know what? If the data is right, there are going to be mass resignations, and there's going to be all this shakeup going on in the workplace. Our move is to be transparent about what's in it for them if they agree with us. Tiffany, hi. We have already proved that we can work effectively at home for over a year, and we may have to continue with. I have a thought about that hybrid. What was that comment by?
Oh, sorry.
Would give us time to work on those items when we were interrupted at the office. Here's the thing: for the better part of a year, we as a profession have been in red alert emergency mode. Now, every assistant on the planet knows what that feels like. We've been for months, you were, doing whatever it took, putting in the hours, stay working late or doing work at night or on the weekends, whatever. We're not in that anymore. My point to you all and to the assistants of the world is that we have an opportunity right now to build something that's sustainable. And if we believe working from home, either in a hybrid way or 5 days a week, is sustainable, and our leaders can achieve their goals even better, as along with you achieving your goals, which are tied together, right? Then we can create something new. But the United States, and I know we have people from out of the country here, but the United States has been famous for a long time for being workaholics. And working at home is feeding right into that. If we want a change, we have to articulate it and know that it's not going to be like a light switch.
Right.
It's, these leaders had a way of working and a belief system around it. And now we are, they were forced into this work at home situation. But, Tiffany, the difference I see is that we're now moving into a new phase of this. And like, what does this new workplace look like? And if you have opinions on that, now is probably too late to speak up, but the decisions have been made all along in these last few months, but you've been hearing me say that for months. What else, Jen?
Absolutely. Yeah. Jana says, I'm more effective at home. Jackie, I feel you. When she was at home, her husband and boys, it was distracting. They were just not as busy as she was.
Yeah.
What's for dinner? Mm-hmm.
Right. So it doesn't work for everybody. Just like Lynn said, and you know what, the assistants who were alone at home, like Jackie, you're painting a picture of like all this activity around you with all these people who were all, competing for the Wi-Fi because of all these devices, probably. The assistants who were working alone also had issues and challenges that they would talk to me about, the feeling of isolation and loneliness and the idea of feeling out of the loop on a lot of levels. I understand that too. So we're having to wrestle with things that we never had to wrestle with before, which is why I thought it would be important to talk about this today on this show. What else do we have, Jen?
Absolutely. Edwina, sorry if I mispronounced that. Definitely personal preferences.
It's not but here's the thing about that, Edwina. That's a great point. Historically, for a very long time, Jackie said, I'll say that thought in a second. I was taking minutes in a Zoom meeting and lost my connection with everyone. Yes.
Totally believable.
Here at my home, because I'm so often on Wi-Fi, and you might use this tip for your executives. In our town, not every towns have this, but we have two companies that deliver, two phone companies that you can choose from for Wi-Fi services. So I subscribe to both because if one goes down, I have a backup. It's kind of like having a generator.
Generator Wi-Fi.
So, whether you want to consider this for yourself, for me, it's an extra $50 a month. But it might be useful for your executives. What I was going to say earlier was that historically, assistants were mainly listening, having information go this way from managers to you about what their preferences are. And now we're in a situation where it's important for you to say what you need. And honestly, I've said this a number of times. I've been doing this for 30 years. And I'm writing a book. So I'm interviewing and talking with leaders and HR professionals and recruiters and of course, assistants like you. And what I'm hearing is, they don't have all the answers. they have been thrown for a loop by this. HR is in chaos and major activity. They don't have time to create new job descriptions. Oh, the other thing I heard, 2021 is being called the year of the job description. Oh my God, this is so big. Year of the job description. I read it today on Business Management Daily. You can Google it. Now, what they're saying is that because of the changes in the workplace, I'm certain that an aspect of your job description is very different. HR has no time to redo the job descriptions. If you need a new one, please write it yourself. Please make it as detailed and as accurate as you can have it. They're calling it the year of the job description.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. Edwina is like, wow.
Wow.
What else, Jen?
Yeah, Stephanie, we had internet outages from storms for 2 days. Thankful for my mobile hotspot. Oh, we've been there.
Right. So EAs, plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Like, I've been saying it for months that it seems to me that the executive assistants of the world were a group that were among the most prepared for what just happened to us. But let me emphasize that we're moving into a new phase of what this is. And decisions are being made about you, about the way you're going to work. And if you have opinions, please speak up. We know that you're more effective from home, but let us have empathy and execute our high EQ for our leaders who somehow feel nervous about it. Let's ask directly, what frightens you about that? What are you worried about? That's a valuable question, right? What are you worried about, executive? Tell me what you're worried about, and let's talk together about how we can solve that. And you know, I love the phrases, can we give that a try? You know, if you're proposing something, could we give it a try for a month? Could we give something a try for 3 months? It also is useful to say, you know, if you come off this call and you've had an epiphany or something, you can tell your leader, you know, I've been giving something some thought, or I heard something the other day on a call that made sense to me that could perhaps help us work better together. Anything else burning? Elizabeth is saying she's got a micromanager for a boss. You know what, Elizabeth? This situation with assistants working from home is torture. It's the worst torture for micromanagers. Oh my goodness. They are having the hardest time of all with working from home because they have what are they afraid of? They're afraid of perhaps some of it is irrational, some of it may be rational. So with the micromanagers, I would choose something very extreme or very clear that you didn't need to be micromanaged about. And say, you know what, George or whoever, I'd like to talk about that. And, you know, it makes me feel that you don't trust that I'm going to get it done. Help me understand. That's another phrase I love. Help me understand what's worrying you about that. Have I given you a reason to doubt that I'm doing that? And then that conversation will help. You know, let's cut everybody a break here. This change happened in a heartbeat. So, you know, you can kind of understand how leaders are thrown. I know it's been months. I know. What else? It looks like we've got some.
So Rosemary says staff and supervisors tend to call and interrupt us more for minor things in the office while at home. I feel that my one-to-one meetings are more effective than in the office, and my boss seems more prepared with her assignments and really focus on what I have to say. So that's it.
So we have an opportunity to teach for those who don't have an executive like Rosemary does.
Yeah.
Then we can take a page out of her book and you know, come up with some good ideas about how we can use the time better, you know, to emphasize, well, we've got 30 minutes. let's come up with an agenda. You know what this is. And if you can identify what's worrying them and address that directly, you're going to be in much better shape.
Definitely.
Well, so we got a long one. Got a few there, right?
Yeah. Here's from Melissa. Can't help but think how work from home also positively impacts Earth, less emissions, traffic, etc. Also lessens need for building additional space to sit at desks and perform same functions.
Right. I mean, the domino, yes, the impact of all of these things. I'm wondering what's going to happen to office space in New York City, for example. But, you make a great point. I'm, for one, I'm sitting a lot more. So I went on Amazon and I got something called an Exerdesk. First thing in the morning, it's got a desk on it. And I put my laptop there and I cycle because, we're not moving around as much. So,
right.
We have challenges and we have solutions. If there's anything you all know how to do really well, it's come up with a fix for it.
With ideas. Yeah.
I'm not settling for there's no fix to it. That's not your business. Your business is solving the problem.
Absolutely.
What else?
Elizabeth, my boss is very excited to return. Can we change that to manager or executive?
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time saying that word.
Elizabeth, I think you might know the whole thing about the word boss translates to the word master in South Africa.
Yes.
Master and slave, and we're gonna call them executives.
Yeah.
I would rather telecommute 3 times a week and be flexible, right? I agree with some others that I'm more efficient at home, but I'm lucky to have a dedicated, right, and a very understanding retired husband. Excellent point, Elizabeth. I mean, you have a space. In my presentations, I use a picture of an assistant at a kitchen table with 2 kids trying to do their homework. Not everybody has that. So we're in a situation where I say you have every right to tell your leaders what you need to make it easier for you. If you still don't have all the equipment, the right equipment that you need at home, then, early on, there were companies giving assistants $500 gift cards to just buy whatever you needed, whether that meant a better desk, a better chair. Mm-hmm. And, the goal here is to stabilize our companies and to, HR wants to stabilize and not have a revolving door of people. So it's going to be very interesting these next months as people go back. What else? This is such an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it is. It is. Jackie says she feels more a part of the team in the office. Elizabeth came back. Out of 3 full-time and 1.5 half-time assistant were laid off without consulting or direct supervisors. Only the CEO and HR partner made that call.
So that makes another interesting point about when big decisions are going to be made. When decisions are made about blowing out the office walls, to have an open floor plan, or, laying off people, which is much more serious. How about we ask first? We ask the people who are going to be directly impacted. I see it all over that too often leaders are making very serious decisions that have a lot of impact without consulting the people who are actually going to be impacted. And it just doesn't seem smart to me to have that be the case. So when we as a profession get wind of, because you hear and see everything, when that happens, I urge you to find a way to say, hey, I heard that this may be happening. I have a few thoughts about that. May I share them? Respectful, professional, but my goodness, we need to do more of this. There's it's hard enough in the virtual world to communicate. We can do a much better job of bridging. Okay, a couple of more, and then we're gonna head towards wrapping up, Jen.
So from Rosemary, feel the same way EAs and staff have to adapt to changes. Yeah, supervisors need to do it too.
Yes,
absolutely.
And supervisors and executives, like, nobody had training for this.
Right.
Nobody. Even, business schools, I'm very interested in the curriculum at business schools. You got to know that the current pre-pandemic curriculum at business schools were not preparing leaders for this. And like I said earlier, I think executive assistants were much more resilient and ready to be responsive to these changes than even leaders were. So what's our move is to help them be better leaders, help them, without being cocky about it, of course, but let's teach along the way. I see assistants doing it worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
Filling out a survey. What a concept. Ask. Let's ask our people. Better yet, if it's anonymous. And sometimes assistants say, well, anonymous surveys aren't necessarily anonymous. All true. We have work to do, ladies and gentlemen, in this workplace. I hope that some of this information today has been useful for you. I know that Nadine King knew that there's a lot of room for improvement in our workplace, especially in the Black community, as with her work with Black Admin Magic, but there is work to be done across the board. You see the gaps. So we are dedicating today to Nadine King. I'm sure there will be a lot of information on social media, but we got the very sad news today that she passed away this afternoon. It seems like it was an illness of some kind. I don't have any other information than that. Our thoughts are with her family and with her professional family at Black Admin Magic and at Spelman College, where she worked. Jen put in the chat the episode of Heads Together that she did with us on March 10th for Women's History Month. And she was pretty new to me in this year, but I'm so grateful to have known her and to hear her passion about making things better. So as we wrap up today, I want to thank you all for being here and for bringing your voice and your opinions to this space. If this has been useful at all, I hope you will share the replay with your colleagues and with HR, with your leaders. I am totally fine with that. You can use me as your springboard for this kind of information. I'm delighted to have that be the case. We will be back here next Wednesday with another show. And in the meantime, I would like to just leave you with the idea that let us make the most of every single day that we are given, that we get precious time here, and let us make Nadine King proud of us as we move forward in our workplaces. Jen, thank you so much.
Exactly. You got it.
Stephanie is saying that. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your feedback. We are happy to be here. Our community mourns today. There's a void. There's a big void. I'm here to support any assistant who is in need of that. So Bonnie at BonnieLow-Kramen.com. All right, friends. We'll see you next Wednesday, and be well.